great to have you with us here live from Park City tonight. I'm Brian Schnee. What a day it has been here in Summit County. We've been trying to figure out, is the Kouri Richins situation with jury selection going to take all 5 days that they allotted for it, or will it be done rather quickly? It looks like it's going to be the latter half, where maybe it'll be about 2 days where they will have this jury selected. We'll get the skinny and the lowdown and all of that in just a moment here. Again, thanks for being with us. It is chilly in Park City. We'll get your forecast here in a few minutes. Let's get you caught up on the Richins case. I'm blown away by the amount of people I heard today here inside the courthouse that said, I've never heard of this case. If you've been under a rock, you are in good company. Get you caught up here. March 2022, Kouri's husband, Eric, was found unresponsive in their home in Camas. Later dies. A month later, his autopsy reveals he died from a fentanyl overdose. A year later, March 2023, Kouri published that children's book about loss and grief, and in May, she is then charged with Eric's murder. Now, there are a lot of twists and turns in between all of that, including court battles to change the venue. They even submitted that just a few weeks ago. I guess you can call that in the court world, in the judicial world, legal world, a Hail Mary attempt to try to get things changed here last minute, prolong the situation. Regardless, we are here today now where we've waited for some sort of major movement to happen in this case, and it's finally getting there. For that, let's bring in Liv Kelleher, who's been in Camas most of the day. Liv, we got here this morning around the same time. You were actually on TV before me, and I showed up right at the same time to watch you on television. And then we both learned something really interesting. They were going to open the court for us to be there to witness the jury selection, which was fascinating, by the way, because you get to hear people's perspectives, how much they've heard about this case, what haven't they heard about this case. By the way, most people have heard the headline, Richins, fentanyl, children's book, that sort of thing. But a lot of people didn't know a lot of details. Right. You were in Camas, where a lot of this has deep roots. We go out and talk to people all the time. They normally don't know what we're talking about. Do people know about this case?
Certainly a mix of things here. So we do this all the time. We go out to talk to people. It's one of the hardest things that we do, getting people to talk to us on camera, share their opinions. People were much more forthcoming off camera today. There was a mix of responses, people who got that jury survey that had responded to it and were not summoned to court. They have different reasons why they believe they weren't called in. One had back pain, can't sit in court for 4 days a week, long hours, all of that. Someone else told me that they actually used to live next door to the Richins at some point, that they knew several people who were closely connected to this case. Another person told me that she knew a lot about this case and had very strong opinions and made that known on her survey. Someone else told me they used to work with Kouri's aunt, so close connections in Camas. But of course, that jury pool is across all of Summit County. Many people also said, I know nothing about this. I know the headlines. I've heard about this a few years ago, but I'm not that invested. So certainly a mix. People a little bit afraid to talk to us today, and I think it's because there is a lot of attention on this case.
There is a lot of attention. It's nationwide attention. It is even gone international. You spoke with the gentleman named Derek today. What are some of the things he had to tell you?
So Derek works in Camas. He lives in South Jordan, but he's here often. And he had strong opinions. He's actually been following this case for several years, about 3 years now, since Kouri was arrested in 2023. And, he feels like that this, if she is found guilty, that this is a pretty serious crime, and has some strong opinions on what the potential punishment for that would be. Take a listen.
I think that if she's guilty, the state should definitely seek the death penalty for something like this. You don't murder your loved ones and then, live to tell about it. That's my personal belief.
So he also mentioned something that is very typical when we talk to people, the old "it can't happen here" sort of adage, right? The crime doesn't happen in my neighborhood, or you would never expect that here. He also said something similar?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like we said, Camas is a town of about 2,000 people. That is a small town. And so this shocked the community 3 years ago. And the fact that it's taken this long to get to trial, those feelings are still there. And he shared that sentiment. Take a listen to that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unusual, especially Utah and especially Camas. Everyone here seems really nice. I'm just here for work, but I can't imagine something like their neighbors must be shocked,
So where did you go today in Camas, Liv? Take me kind of through the process real quick about where you went to find some of these folks, and if you had any interesting conversations about that survey we've talked a lot about.
I had a lot of interesting conversations about the survey. I went to basically every single gas station in town. I went to shopping malls or grocery stores, parking lots, anywhere there was going to be a lot of people around. There's a few things that stood out. There's that long list of people who you're disqualified or could be disqualified if you have opinions on them. People knew a lot of those people, and that was one of the main things people were reacting to, as well as the questions on social media, your bumper sticker if you've been divorced. So things that really stood out to people are those things that a lot of people relate to.
You and I have looked through that questionnaire. That is what all of today's conversation, by the way, was based off of. The questions from the defense and the prosecution were all about that questionnaire. Some of the popular ones were, how do you feel about law enforcement? Or have you ever had a loved one murdered or ever experienced domestic violence? Some of those things get really deep into your personal lives. Ariel Harrison takes a closer look at the questionnaire.
Years of headlines, film productions, and online speculation.
It's about as long as I've ever seen.
This 23-page jury questionnaire with 99 questions is shedding light on the type of jurors legal teams on the Kouri Richins murder case are looking to seat and avoid.
Both sides are really trying to kind of get intrusive, and they're doing a very effective job at that.
Nathan Evershed is a former prosecutor and is not affiliated with this trial. With 20 years of experience working with juries, including selection, we asked him to look through the form the jury pool is being asked to fill out. Some of those questions ask prospective jurors about their primary source of news, TV programs regularly watched, bumper stickers, the groups they've donated money to, or whether they've been divorced.
What is typical is to ask questions, biographical information, family background, things like that. If you know about the case, if you formed opinions, all that is quite typical.
At what point did you notice they went from routine to really getting into nuances with the Richins case?
When they started getting into opinions about the case, when they started getting into backgrounds of like connections with like victim rights organizations, social media accounts, these things, you can see like they're really trying to get granular on this.
Last week, the judge denied the defense team's second request to move the trial out of Summit County, an area some question whether a fair trial is possible.
It's unique for the area. This happened in Camas, which is a small community here in Utah. Everyone knows everyone.
Melinda Ruth, an experienced jury consultant based out of Utah.
These are going to be community members selected to sit on this case and ultimately decide, right?
Exactly.
She says over a 5-day period, the court will collect data from the jury questionnaire in an effort to seat 12 impartial jurors as well as alternates.
It's called a voir dire process, and they have all the questionnaire answers, and then they have the jurors come in different panels depending on the numbers, and the judge asks them questions, and often the attorneys will have a chance to ask questions.
Also not connected to this case, if she were, Ruth would sit in the room as this happens, watching and making note of not just the written responses, but the verbal and nonverbal cues.
It's not so much even how they are responding to their own responses, it's also how the other people in the room are responding to the person responding.
She says both legal teams then go through a striking process where prospective jurors are removed for cause.
Meaning, like, if there's a scheduling issue, or it's just a blatant, like you have a hearing loss, or a blatant bias, someone involved in the case, you'll be struck and you'll be released to go home.
But it doesn't stop there. She says there's another set of strikes that is predetermined by the judge. Each side will only be allowed a certain number of those strikes.
There's a lot going into the selection process, not just of like, is this a non-biased juror, but they're thinking small group dynamics. A good prosecutor is going to be looking to get a group of humans together that looks like they could be cohesive in their decision making. Whereas defense is going to look for people that might be willing to stand on their own a little and challenge the norms.
Something I forgot to mention, by the way, Kouri Richins was in court today. You wouldn't know it because cameras weren't allowed, weren't really a thing, because we didn't know we were going to be in the courtroom until a motion was granted this morning. But Kouri was in there dressed in all black, had the bun, the signature sort of hair pulled back with the bun. She was engaging with her defense team and would later put on a gray sweater. Everyone ate lunch for about 15 minutes, around 1:40. It was a very long, drawn-out morning, and then tightened up a little bit in the afternoon. We have about 30 seconds. Anything else stand out to you from today, from being here and then being out in Camas and then back here in Park City?
You know, I think one of the main things I took away from talking with people, specifically in Camas, is people are ready for this trial to happen and be done. I heard one great thought from someone is that this has been really a long time for the family, and they're hoping that for the sake of Kouri and Eric's children, that some closure can come of this. It's been 3 years to get to trial, so they're ready to see this through and to see what comes of it.
One of the prospective jurors also brought up the 3 kids today as well. Interesting you point that out. Thank you, Liv. I know you'll be here along for the ride. I'm sure we will do this again at 7 o'clock one of these nights. So look for Liv's coverage throughout the afternoon and evening on KUTV. Speaking of, if you want to get in the know on this case and you want to keep up with what is happening, a very high profile, I don't use that term lightly because I think it is a little bit thrown out there for everything. This is kind of it. If you're interested, there's a lot of true crime junkies out there. There's a lot of people right here in Summit County, right here in Utah, that are very interested in this case. By the way, it feels like forever ago all of this started happening. The wheels of justice moving, at the pace that they do. More things are here, including jury selection and the trial to get underway in a few weeks rather. So stay with us here on KUTV2 News and on our website. Speaking of in a few minutes, that's what I meant to say, but it's cold. Another thing that a lot of people are talking about, Savannah Guthrie's mother, taken forcefully from her home in Tucson. Creepy, disturbing, describe it however you want. New images shared today of the person they believe may be behind all of this. We'll explain on the other side. Drive safe. Oh, hey, it's me. A possible break in the abduction case of Nancy Guthrie. New video and images, you see them on your screen right now, released by the FBI, showing that masked person outside of her home in Tucson. Now, that video and those pictures are what law enforcement said was previously inaccessible. I believe they cited because the camera that was there wasn't actually subscribed, but they did some back-end work to get those images. CBS's Andres Gutierrez with the latest here from Tucson.
Law enforcement released these surveillance images and video recovered from back-end systems connected to cameras at Nancy Guthrie's home. Authorities say they show an armed individual appearing to tamper with the camera at her front door the morning she disappeared, February 1st.
The fact that he's wearing a mask, covering his hands, so he was ready. He did not want to leave DNA. He did not want his face recognizable.
It's taken the technology company and law enforcement 10 days to extract these images since Guthrie's cameras weren't connected to the cloud and didn't save recorded images. This comes as billboards with Guthrie's picture and information are popping up in Phoenix and even in Houston.
No matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement.
Former FBI hostage negotiator Chip Massey says the latest broad appeal for help from Savannah Guthrie speaks volumes.
Pleading directly to the American people, that is a big indication that they no longer right now have faith in the abductors doing the right thing for them.
The FBI has set up a 24-hour command post here in Tucson and is now trying to identify the person in the surveillance images.
Typically, before they have more information, they're going to call him a subject. They're going to say, we want to talk to him. Then once they talk to him, they get more evidence together. At that point, it turns into person of interest and then suspect. That's the rung above that.
The FBI updated its missing person poster to include these new images, offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to Guthrie's recovery or the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Tucson.
Well, let's talk about the weather. I can attest right now, pretty darn chilly in Park City. It's been like this all day. The light breeze, the snow coming down in the mountains, or at least it looks like it, Sean, because they were visible in the morning, then the afternoon, that cloud cover, but I'm excited to see what the case for the weather looks like in terms of snowfall at the higher elevations over the next couple of days. Anything?
Just a dusting up into the mountains, but things are really going to be ramping up here through the next 24 to 48 hours. And in fact, the National Weather Service has issued winter weather advisories for our northern and central mountains. That continues to remain in effect through the overnight and through the day tomorrow and into Thursday as well. The main part of the storm actually arriving tomorrow. That's when we could see some of the heaviest rain in the valleys and the heaviest snow up into the mountains. Tomorrow evening we could also maybe see a few thunderstorms into the evening hours. And then, believe it or not, this is just the beginning. We've got a more active stretch of weather into next week. In fact, it could be even more significant. So for tomorrow morning's commute, tomorrow evening's commute, give yourself some extra time. There could be some delays, some slowdowns out there. Make sure you're being safe and cautious into Thursday commute, but by Thursday evening's commute, I think you're in the clear here. It all starts though from right now through 11 p.m. We'll get kind of the first wave of precipitation moving in, maybe a little bit of a lull in activity through the overnight, and then tomorrow morning we'll be waking up to some heavier showers pushing in through across much of the northern part of the state, then kind of on and off through lunchtime, and then lingering on through tomorrow evening. Tomorrow evening we could maybe see the heaviest precipitation. So let's show you what's going on out there right now. We've got some heavy snow starting to work its way in to the Deer Valley area as we start off your day right now. This evening here, we're starting to see that snow kind of ramping up a little bit out there right now. Snowfall amounts again will be pretty variable, but for the most part 6 to 12 inches for the northern mountains, with the cottonwoods picking up a little bit more than that. Look at this surge of moisture being transported as far as 3,000 miles away. I was looking at it. It's kind of originating in the Hawaii Islands area, moving on shore here across southwestern portions of the Baja Peninsula into southern California, as well. Sierra Nevada mountains could see upwards of several feet of snow before this is all said and done, and we're kind of getting the remaining moisture from this storm, and you can see those showers starting to inch further up towards the north. So starting to see that intensify here across portions of the Wasatch Mountains as we get through tomorrow morning's commute and tomorrow evening's commute. That's when we could see some of the heaviest valley rain and heaviest mountain snow out there, continuing on through Thursday morning and then gradually tapering off by Thursday evening. So temperatures right now, they're into the 40s. We're starting to see that moisture work its way in. We'll see 30s and 40s for lows tomorrow. Highs, by the way, into the 50s out there. St. George, you're looking at temperatures here into the 60s. Drying out by Thursday. A nice start to the weekend. President's Day, will watch out for some showers moving in, and then across the Wasatch Front will be a little bit cooler into Friday as we dry things out, and then a nice start to the weekend as well. More active weather returning by next week.
Well, Sean, interestingly enough, we're not far. You know, we have a view of Deer Valley, but man, it's not doing that down here. Photographer Randy was doing a little dance, hoping maybe we'd get some more snow and it would just kind of work its way out, even down here where we are right now, so we could bask in it. But any chance that moves down to any lower elevations, or is this really staying up high?
So it's a pretty warm storm, but you know, with these southwesterly storms, your area tends to do pretty well. For right now, it's those high elevations and still pretty dry at your level. And in fact, it might mix with a little bit of rain here overnight. But by tomorrow afternoon and evening, I think things get going for you down to the base levels in the Park City area.
All right, Sean, thank you very much. We will be right back to wrap things up live from Park City. Thanks for joining us live from Park City tonight. I'm Brian Schnee. Be sure to wake up with 2 News this morning for the latest on the jury selection in the Kouri Richins murder trial that is going on here in Summit County. We'll see you.